This meeting is being recorded.
And I wanted to, there's some background, it might be background wind from you, Lisa. If I'm, yeah, good. All right. So I wanted to start by telling a story. I was in Mexico last week at a town with a lot of expats, scouting it out as a possible place to get out of town if the worst happens and my raging nervous system demands relocation, maybe by November, say. So I got there, and after a few days, yeah, the nervous system is really soothed with the kind of way that people move and are natural, and there's good, kind eyes there. And I'd heard about the wild dogs in Mexico. And in this place where we were, there were a lot of dogs roaming the street, but every single one of them was polite and didn't break any boundaries. They hardly barked. I'm walking down a narrow sidewalk and there's a big dog taking a siesta, blocking the sidewalk. And I tiptoe around him and just like land an inch or two from his paw, no flinch at all. And to me, that was a measure of a nervous system health. And a field of kindness and a field of ease that this session offers too. Courtney going to come in and I'll finish the thought.
What part of Mexico, Lee?
South of Guadalajara, Ajijic, Lake Chapala.
Oh, wow.
Hi, Courtney.
Hi, Lee.
Okay.
Sorry
So
I'm late. I couldn't find the passcode.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're here. And I'll just to catch you up briefly. I was in Mexico and talking about how the nervous system, it was a place to soothe my savage nervous system, and relating to how dogs, even wild dogs, are polite and tame because there's a holding, there's a kindness in the air. It's there, and that's the kind of safety that I am drawn to and facilitate. And this session, everyday life is challenging enough, but with the specter of what's happening in the world, it's almost too much to bear sometimes. And we need places to truly be accepted and heard, and maybe to blow off steam, maybe talk about the emotions or your emotions around animals or around the state of the world or around the state of your life, because here's a place to be really listened to. And I'd like today to be turns where you may start with a story about animals or a story about something else, but I don't want it to be, I want you to have the free range of what can you utilize this listening for, this very special kind of listening. And I'd like to talk a little about making the listening at the peak possibility. So when your name is called, and you're all on gallery view, when your name is called, like if my name is called, you'll see me move in a little, and really softly gaze for the 15 or 20 seconds until another name is called. So everybody sees that the person is being taken care of. And sometimes people take, yeah, Jack, go ahead.
No, it's just to demonstrate for people who aren't as familiar with your routine here. If you just call my name, I'll show the difference. Like right now, I'm looking at your picture. And then if you call my name, when you're
Jack,
talk, and then instead of, now I move, when I hear my name called, instead of looking at your picture, I move in a little bit and I look up into the camera, which in Mike is the top of there's a little yellow light on mine, could be a red light on your computer. Mm-hmm. And then I'm listening to Lee. And then he'll go on to somebody else, he'll call Courtney, and then I can come sit back and if I want and look at Lee's picture again. But you'll see the difference where I'm really, the illusion is I'm looking at you because I'm looking at you.
Great,
that makes
thanks,
sense?
Jack. Yeah,
right?
That's okay. And again, if sometimes your eyes, you're so enjoying the eyes you're with, you forget to move. And if you're in there for more than like 30 seconds or so, this signal means time to find a new part there. So, okay, the person's always taken care of with the listening. And again, let's take some breaths, maybe with eyes closed. and feel into perhaps what really wants to be explored, what wants to be heard in this right here and now. Because anything you can express that's real for you is going to be useful in how you are in public when you're emoting your passion. So come on back to the screen. I'd like you to each take a minute to get to check in with a person, like I'll assign, like I'm going to say, Julie, you check in with Jack. So Jack is going to look into the camera and I'm going to time a minute. You know, what's up? What's up? How you doing? Staying with Jack on the screen. And when and I'll say the time because you may not see me, I'll say finish up like 10 seconds or so. So Julie checking in with Jack, starting with a breath, starting now.
Are we talking or we're just looking?
You can talk, yeah.
I was just, hi Jack. I was just telling Lee that I just spent the night in the hospital. I had a really bad allergic reaction to a new insulin. I'm diabetic. So breathing is painful and it's a struggle. So this is going to be an awkward session for me. Yeah, but I'm here and I'm glad I'm here to give moral support. And I'm going to give myself a rest right now so we can look at each other.
Okay, so everybody says, thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, okay. So Jack, you're checking in with Lisa. So Lisa, would you give Jack your eyes? Move in a little, give Jack your eyes for a minute, Jack, starting with a breath. How's it starting now?
Yeah, feeling a little bit distracted. Too much to do. Is this a 1 hour session or a 2 hour session? Busy mind. I usually settle into these and it'll maybe happen in just a few minutes of our sharings here. But yeah, definitely too much going on in my head, too much. I don't have time for this. I gotta get to work. One of them being asked to rep IDA at a goose event, and I love Canada geese, and I think people should be killed. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that. Oh wait, I can here. Kill the people, not the geese. Leave the geese alone. It just makes me insane, but I need to do my homework and probably not say things like that in public, let alone for IDA. So that's in my head. Yeah, it just gets me upset on top of everything else. And I've been involved in world politics over the weekend, and that's a minute, I know.
Finish up. Thank you, Jack. Lisa, you check in with Courtney. Courtney, you can give Lisa your eyes into the camera. Lisa, starting with a breath, starting now.
Hi, Courtney. Nice to see you. We just recently had a meeting, so it's great to see you after talking to you for a little while today. I really appreciate all of your thoughtful comments and responses to things going on within the elephant world and also with some of our external communications. So thank you very much for that. I'm checking in with something similar to Jack, having lots to do, of course, lots related to geese, but also with a beautiful day, and being outside helps me to be more present and enjoy our meeting today.
Finish up. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Courtney.
Lee, was I supposed to be looking at the camera the whole time? The light?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Were you? I think you were.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw your eyes. Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. Courtney, now you're checking in with Brittany. Brittany, please move in, give Courtney your eyes in the camera. And Courtney, starting with a breath. Starting now.
Hi, Brittany. Nice to see you too. And I'm starting to think about TWZ. I bet you're excited, huh? Seems like we just did it a minute ago, doesn't it? But anyway, so just starting to think about that. And I'm bouncing a few ideas in my head too, always multitasking, which I hear that's bad for you. I don't know if anyone else heard that, but I read a study once that said multitasking actually destroys your brain cells. So it's a little concerning. But anyway, how do you stop doing that? That's the question. So anyway, Brittany, just nice to see you there in Tucson. And good luck with your turtle sanctuary.
Bishop?
That's very exciting. Am I supposed to look at Brittany now or at the camera?
No, you're looking at Brittany because she's looking at the
Brittany.
camera.
That's right. Okay, so I'm looking at Brittany. So anyway, hoping all that's going well for you. And I don't think I'm just busy with work as we all are.
Finish
So
up.
I don't finish up. So that's it then.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you, Courtney.
So Brittany, you get to check in with Ginger. Ginger, you give your eyes into the camera to Brittany. Brittany, starting with a breath, starting now.
Hi, Ginger. Nice to see you. And I hope that things are going well for you with your workload and your projects. I echo what Jack and Lisa said, and all of us, there's always a lot to do. There is never a shortage of topics and issues that need to be addressed for the animals. It's overwhelming how much there is to try to cover and try to tackle. So I'm also feeling that. And yes, my little sanctuary is really going well. Thank you, Courtney. My turtle tortoise sanctuary. And it's just a nice, peaceful environment for my rescues. And I'm happy to be here. I think this is our second to last session.
Finish up.
And yeah, it's just great to see everybody, and thank you.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany.
So Ginger, Julie is going to give you her eyes in the camera. Yeah. So Ginger checking in through Julie's eyes on the screen, starting with a breath, starting now. Oh, you're muted, Ginger.
Okay. So, hi, Julia. I was so sorry to hear about your episode and that you ended up having to spend some time at the hospital. I certainly hope you're feeling better now. And maybe when Lee says take a deep breath, you just take a shallow breath because it hurts you to take a deep breath. So we're just so sorry to hear about that. And I really hope that you're doing a lot better now because you are so important to all of our work. And I appreciate what you do for us. And I guess
Finish up.
Finish up. Okay. So thank you again, Julie, and I hope you're feeling well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for checking in. I want to talk about what we can do here. You know, the big idea about why I'm here and what we're working on is being more, what do you want to call it? Listener friendly out in the world, being more of a presence in your speaking, in your presenting, in your impassionating, being clear, being personal, being magnetic, if not dynamic. But, you know, magnetic is more powerful sometimes than dynamic if you're drawing people by being connected, and your content is personal and passionate. So it's almost like we're in a singing group where the first thing to do is belt out anything. It's just get the movement from of sounds and words in a way that relieves your need to be seen, to be recognized as contributing to the cause that you all are committed to. So that's why one way to start your turn, I want to give you like a six minute turn each to really, and if it's not going to happen if in the middle you can stop and save your time in the bank. But I want to give you a chance to impassionate, to break rules, to go too far, because this is the place to go too far. It's the place to cry. It's the place to yell responsibly, to blow it out. You know, it doesn't have to even make complete sense, but maybe you want to start with a story or a sentence that captures where you are. I don't know, but I really want practice in using your pipes to express what wants to be expressed, even if it seems to go off the rails. So, who has a place to start that feels like it's got some momentum in it? You know, just a place to start that you could move with. That you might say the unsayable. Yes?
I mean, I do, but it's just hard to communicate at the moment.
It's what? Say that again?
I do have ideas. It's just hard to communicate them. at
Well,
the
let
moment.
me give you some interesting point of view about that.
Okay.
What if you used all your passion and gave up all thought of how it was showing up? In other words, do it exactly from where you are and know that could be a perfect place to come from. Do you know what I mean? Rather than that it's missing something. It might be the perfect place for you to come from. It might actually clear up what's going on.
I think she means that it's hard for her to talk because of her
Yeah.
breathing.
But
That's what I mean. If it's hard, it's hard. And then so you stop. But maybe it becomes easier. Maybe it becomes easier. Okay, I'm going to time you for 5 minutes. And remember to call names, starting with a breath.
Okay.
Calling your first name, starting now.
Okay, Lisa. Well, over the last month, I think, since our last meeting and just everything I've been going through, just health-wise, I realized that my previous speech or intro that I did last time, although true, didn't really reflect what really led me into this field, I would say. Yes, I did the volunteering with PETA and all of those things, but that wasn't really why. So, and it is hard to talk about, but I will say that my younger self, I guess, the younger Julie, Ginger, really identifies in a lot of ways with animals and animal suffering and needing someone to step in and help, I will say. Like I talked about before, when I was 4, I was diagnosed with diabetes. And even before that, my home life, I would say, wasn't the best. I faced a lot of abuse and neglect. So when I was diagnosed, it was really up to me to take care of myself. So if you can imagine a 4-year-old like testing your blood sugar and filling syringes and giving it to yourself. And it was just really hard to do, Courtney. And so I think being that young, I didn't really realize how strange and like messed up that was, I'll say. And then as I got older, it's like, wow, I could really use somebody to step in and help. And then Jack, at that same time, at school, I was bullied just for my appearance. And kids knew, obviously, adults knew, nobody stepped in and did anything. So at home, I was facing a lot. At school, I was facing a lot, and I really had no escape. And nobody stepped in. So, Brittany, when I learned about all of the stuff that animals were going through, which is infinitely worse than what I was going through, it was like, wow, like they really need somebody. They really need somebody to step in. And so that's why and how I got into this. They need somebody to use their voice and to not only recognize what they're going through, but to actually help. Because for them, it is a matter of life and death. And yeah, that's what called me to this. I think that's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Julie. Julie, you know, that's about as good an opening story that anyone can have to bring people in. And it's just perfect. It's just, do you know that? Do you get that sense?
That is perfect.
That what you just did, that how you expressed your experience as a child, and then how animals needed so much more, and how that allowed you to give what you need. You know, that's a story, that's a movie. It's a brilliant. And I just want to give a chance for other people to give any feedback you'd like to give to support Julie.
Can I turn my video off as it's not everywhere?
Because it's what?
A mess.
Well, good. Yeah, well, you don't look like a mess. Jack, keep it on, keep it on.
Julie,
Yes.
thank you for showing yourself. And I mean that literally and figuratively, and being vulnerable. And for me, a straight man of whatever age, not that matters, but just my demographic, it's, wow, this woman is passionate. You connect your own vulnerability and your challenges in school as a child with then connecting with the vulnerability of animals and making that all, I mean, well, magnetic, to use Lee's word, and compelling. So, I mean, what I learned from doing similar kinds of shares where I'm upset, and as a guy, I've got different programs about what I can and can't show, but so often the thing that we're ashamed of, or the thing that, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I want to hide. If you have the courage, as you just did in this friendly group, to show yourself, it's exactly the opposite of what you think is going to happen. I mean, especially here, this is a safe space, but like, oh my God, Julie, thank you for sharing that. I just learned more about you. It's one of the reasons I'm here also, is to learn more about each of us and know that we're connected. You know, you guys know this if you've been working in animal groups, but I haven't before. So thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Jack. A few other words, just a few words. Go ahead.
Julie, I just thank you for sharing that with us, because none of us would have known that. And I just want you to know that because you were brave enough to share that with you, and I'm so sorry you had a dysfunctional family and trouble at school and all that, but it made you who you are, and it made you fight for the animals. But I just want you to know that you have support and family here. We all care about you.
Thank you.
And I would also like to echo that, Julie. I'm very grateful to you that you've felt safe to open up and share your story with us today, and also some of the health concerns that you're going through. And I really want to extend some support and let you know that we do care about you and your well-being and your history and who you are, and also are very grateful to you for bringing all of it to us in this moment, but also to us at IDA, for your incredible work to help the animals and all the passion that you have for it.
Thank you.
I just want to say I echo everything all of y'all said, and that was really an incredible story, and I really honor you. But I just want to say I love your hair.
Well, thank you.
Julie, I hope when you look at the video that you see how lovely look.
Oh,
Mm.
thank you.
And I also echo what everyone else said. Everyone spoke so beautifully about Julie's story, about your share. And I concur with everyone. Thank you for sharing that. That's not an easy thing to do, but this is such a supportive group, and it's like our family. It's a family of sorts, and for some people, this family is more supportive than blood family, than like biological family. Fellow activists, fellow animal rights people are, fellow vegans are just the best people I know, best
Mhm.
humans on the planet. And so thank you,
Mhm.
Julie.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Wonderful. Let's take a breath to call it a palate cleansing, like another course is on its way. Who wants to open up a can of worms? Is that not nice to say about worms? A can,
You called me out on that once.
a can of whoop ass. Anybody who wants to? Who's next? Lisa?
I can go next if you'd like.
Oh,
Or
can
go
I
ahead.
Sorry.
Let's,
Can I just ask for a little clarification? So in this 5-minute share, is it just whatever's on our mind?
whatever wants to come through, yes.
Okay.
And it likely related to animals, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Lisa, Lisa, starting with breaths, calling your first name to the camera, starting now.
Well, I'm going to call Brittany first, and that is because Brittany is aware of what I'm going to share about. So, on my walks, when I walk through my neighborhood, we have a neighbor in the area who has a sort of like a small farm of sorts. And this neighbor occasionally has some pigs. And a few months ago, there were some baby pigs that were brought in, and it was fun to see them. And then as I walk by each day, I always would peek and see what they were doing. And of course, they grew and grew. And then I noticed one day that one of them was missing. And then another evening, shortly after that, I walked by, and the other pig, he had black and white on his body, and was that sort of coloration on the pig, and he looked very distinctive, and he was talking. Oh boy, he was talking so much. He was chatting, and he seemed very anxious and very upset. And I felt that same sensation in my own body, and realized that maybe something was wrong, and that he could be very hungry. He seemed hungry, and the person who lives at the location I had mentioned, "Hey, he seems distressed. I think he's hungry." And the person mentioned that oh yeah, he's always hungry. Yeah, he's really a talker. And then I was very suspicious that that was a bad sign, that perhaps he was not getting food because he was going to be going to slaughter. And then the next time I walked by, I ran into the person's wife and noticed that there were no pigs any longer in their enclosure, and just had a moment. It was a very powerful moment of connecting with her, because I said, "Oh, yeah, I noticed that they're not there any longer, and that one had such a strong personality." And then she looked at me and said, "I know, it's really hard. It's really hard. It's hard for us to do that." And I extended some compassion to her, and said a little prayer that perhaps her family would, maybe her daughters would remember that pig and his personality, and that maybe someday they would make a different choice. So that's my share. And it's sometimes we do this work, and there's also like a personal piece. Like, how do we do this in our personal life with people that we interact with on a regular basis. So it's an interesting question. Do we connect, or do we, what do we do exactly?
You want to, you can stop if you want.
That's
Yeah.
the end.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Well,
And
Lisa,
you know
that,
what? I have to say, I'm so sorry. I don't think I did the calling of the
oh,
name. All
yeah,
that.
so funny. I
I'm
forgot.
so sorry.
It's as if, it was as if you were so present. I didn't notice you weren't doing it.
I was trying to look into the camera to like really connect with people
Okay,
in
well, then
general, but
that-
I'm so sorry I didn't look
But,
around.
but that's what was, yeah, that's what you were practicing. I hope nobody else was thrown by that. Okay, wow, I missed it. Oh, but so Lisa, the scene with you and the farmer's wife, it's just another one of those great movie scenes. It's a tearjerker. That vignette is lovely, is just perfect for communicating that next level of compassion. You know, compassion for animals and compassion for humans who are killing them.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were going to say something about that, Lisa?
Oh, I was just saying it was profound, because I think a lot of times as activists we have this kind of anger and rage, and I might have entered that scene with that rage, and
Yeah.
what happened was it totally dissolved when I saw her, and I could see that she was like having these feelings, and then she was also talking about her daughter and her birthday and some other things, but but I wanted to just extend compassion to her instead of anger, so that maybe that is what shifts our paradigm into in the world, you
Good,
know.
great. So, support expressions for Lisa.
That was a really
Well,
good story, Lisa. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
I used to live in the same neighborhood as Lisa. That's why she mentioned that that I knew who she was referring to. We were neighbors and we would walk together. And that was up until I relocated to Tucson, Arizona in November, this past November. But yes, I know what exactly you're referring to. I didn't know this little story about the pigs though. So thank you for sharing. And I love how you had compassion for the individual. It's hard to do, but it is important.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I always say a little prayer for that pig when I go by that house now.
It just occurred to me that this is a great story to tell to groups where not everybody's with you. It's a way of getting outsiders in. Any other comments for Lisa?
Yeah, I will just say you're just a great storyteller. And even if, I mean, you definitely emote and you know what the emotions you're trying to communicate, but you also have this really great sense of calm that lets you do it in just a really eloquent and collected way. I don't know. I just think you're a really great speaker.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. By the way, Julie, wait. Julie, I wonder, your voice is coming back.
Good.
Powerfully. I thought, okay, Jack.
Yeah, just as my oftentimes experience with you, Lisa, is just you go to compassion more readily than I seem able to. One-on-one, sometimes I can, but I tend to go to anger, as you mentioned at the beginning of your talk, and outrage and frustration, and for me, bluster and rah, and I used to be called Jackarant. So you're the opposite of that. It's inspiring. Or I think, okay, let me get in a program with Lisa talking so we can do both faces. You be the angry guy and you be the one compassion, where once I draw people in, they go, whoa, this is too much. And they go to you and go, oh, and there's understanding, and it's an attractor rather than a grabber. So thanks for sharing. It's inspiring. You are inspiring.
And I appreciate the fact that you were able to show compassion. I'm afraid that most of the time I can't do that. I had a similar situation where the people who bought our kennel got a couple of baby pigs, raised them there, and then on the day that they were gonna slaughter them, they said, Ginger, you better not be around here that day, because they knew I wouldn't be able to handle it. Instead of getting compassionate for them, who are supposed to be animal lovers, and instead of getting angry, I just kind of checked out. I couldn't take it. It was too much. So I appreciate the fact that you were able to do that.
Great. Thank you, Lisa.
Lee, sorry, I have to use the bathroom, so I'll be back.
Okay.
I mean, I just didn't want you to think, I just got up and walked away.
No, I appreciate it, Brittany. You know, I'll use this, go ahead. Yeah, I'll use this opportunity to say, I realized the problem with opening a can of worms. Because right away I realized, what the hell are worms doing locked in a can? I mean, that's already a problem. I never saw it from that point of view, so.
I say opening up it's a ball of worms.
Opening up,
Why is that better?
Wow.
Because they're not locked in a can. They're just a lot of them in the compost heap in my garden.
opening up a ball. Who's going to go, who's called to go next when Brittany gets back?
I don't feel called, but I'll just get it get it over.
Oh, if you don't feel called, let's see if we can help you feel called. Courtney.
Good luck. Good luck on that one.
Courtney.
And if you
Yeah,
want,
that might help. Sure.
and if you want, Courtney, I'm not trying to cut ahead of you. I haven't felt any focus, and then just somebody came up like, oh my God, I haven't
Oh,
had that
sure.
memory.
Go for it.
So
Okay.
is that okay?
So, yeah, it's okay with me. It's okay with Courtney.
if it's okay
Jack.
with Courtney, yeah.
Okay. So without objection, Jack, 5 minutes starting with Brett's calling your first name to the camera starting now.
I want to do what Lisa did and just look into the camera. And may I do that, Coach?
Yes.
Send me in, Coach. Yeah, this is a memory from over 30 years ago. And it just popped in my head because of the scenes that I've just heard described. Went to a animal shelter in Westchester County, New York, where I was living at the time, in my 30s, looking for a cat to, rescue and adopt a cat. And it was a shelter in somewhere around Ardsley or Tarrytown, I don't know, 15 miles from where my mother was living at the time in Mount Kisco. I was in New York, and just walked into the place. Immediately it was like, oh my God, this place is underfunded, not really clean, understaffed, and torn between, anger and judgment, because I'm looking at these animals that are not in clean conditions and not getting enough attention and looking bedraggled. And it's just breaking my heart. And this is cats and dogs. This isn't controversial about whether people should treat horses and rabbits and coyotes and wild animals as much as we do generally as a society, cats and dogs. These are cats and dogs, and they're just looking scraggly and dirty, and I don't know about mangy, but just sad, just sad. So we walked through there real quick. I was with my girlfriend at the time and someone else, I think, but just feeling sad. And at the same time, well, I should rescue one of these animals and get him out of here. But I didn't connect with one, and then guilt about that, just this tangle of feelings. And the thing I remember was a young woman who was working there, and she said, what's going on with you? Or looking at me funny. And I like, this is really upsetting. Well, and she said something to the effect of, well, that's not helping, like take one of these animals. So, oh God, I mean, I knew it then, and I just reminded of the issues now. She was angry and upset because she chooses to work in that environment. So she's doing more than I am about it. And I had my reaction, which I was just sort of feeling into and just in that place. And then she was judgmental of it from her place. I understood it intellectually, but like my initial reaction was, fuck you. Like, Jesus Christ, I'm upset here. Don't, that's not going to help. So now 30 years later, like Jack, I remember that. And Jack, I tell myself, remember that. Attacking people is rarely, not never, but rarely helpful. And yet I'm that young woman who feels, overwhelmed, or often overwhelmed or angry about a situation with animals, and I want to do something about it. So for me, I mean, the challenge of even this talking right here is, while I'm talking to animal people, and part of this for me is also getting to know all of you and building our community here to support each other. But now looking forward to a specific, which I want to do, is to talk publicly on Thursday in Foster City per Lisa's request to help with the goose issue there, where they're killing geese that are, the problem is they're pooping. And I mean, there's 1,000 ways. I'm still reading up, and I've got a lot to learn in my 48 hours. But the question is, as someone who's going to give a talk and represent, and even if I wasn't representing, how to reach people there? Who's the audience is the question I go to. So there's anger and bluster, and there's compassion, and there's being gentle and sharing a personal story, and there's being angry and being outraged that we're treating wild, beautiful Canada geese that fly in to go feed on grass to the fucking slaughter because they poop. That's our problem. And my first thing was like, we can't get, one animal volunteer a day to go out there and just clean up the poop and give it to somebody for compost. Well, there's a solution that's not kill, and on and on and on. So it's just it's a tangle for me and an open question, but it comes from, I mean, since I was a little kid growing up in Westchester, seeing those V's, the phalanx of Canada geese flying overhead and honking, I flash on memories of them in the backyard flying overhead, and just the call is so beautiful. It's just so beautiful. These beautiful wild creatures we're blessed to live around. How dare we treat them as anything but sacred? How dare we? And I'm a guy, so kind of like Bill Clinton, I can kind of regulate my emotion, and I can let it out and cry. But that's not gonna, any macho guys in the audience are probably, not all, but probably gonna be turned off by that. So don't do that. It tends to be okay for women. And already I'm in my head again, instead of just in the emotion and letting come what comes. But, this is both a curse and a gift, that I can be aware of what's coming through and monitor it and regulate it like a spigot. Clinton could have a tear, but not bawl, because that's not appropriate for a president to bawl. So all of that. Yeah, I see your finger. I have you placed right here, Lee. So I see you fingering me, if I may say such things. So yeah, so there.
Mhm.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jack. So Jack, what I'm struck by is your attention to building community here. Talking to your community, strengthening the connection. And it gives me a sense of something I'm going to bring up after the turns about what it means to be part of what this community is really at heart. Other comments to Jack, supportive comments?
Yeah, I will say, I mean, I loved all of it. Everything from the memories, which I think a lot of people have and can relate to the solutions. Like, I don't know a lot about, excuse me, the goose poop issue, but just like getting a volunteer out there and giving it to somebody for compost. That's so simple in theory. Communicating the problems and just, I don't know, I think it was perfect. Like, you covered it entirely with the emotion I think that the issue deserves, and I think it was great.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you, Julie.
I appreciate the emotion, and I think you should not care if the macho men don't like it. The people who count will appreciate it.
May I
I
respond
just
to
want
that?
to say, could I just say one thing in addition to what she said before you respond? I just want to say, I think you alone, Jack, could redefine macho to sensitive, caring, and compassionate. Why
Yeah.
shouldn't that be the definition of macho?
Yeah.
And it is now, because you did it.
Well, this is going to be a workshop for Jack, eh? I
Yeah,
mean,
like-
you know, I feel comfortable doing that with a group of women, and of course, women that I know. But it's a conversation, and it's a really appropriate one with this group. But I'm always going back to when I'm speaking in public, it's as best I can. You don't always know. I mean, you don't always know. You don't ever know completely. But who's the audience? How I would speak to a group of men at a gun club would be very different than how I'd speak to a group of women vegan advocates, right? So it's appropriate to know your audience if you can. Usually you have some clue. So the crying can be appropriate for many audiences, even some macho men. It's not all one thing.
Jack, my image for you, I see you someday speaking to a gun club and bawling, and it works. Somehow it works.
Well, if you establish, I mean, there's Matthew McConaughey just did it. Matthew McConaughey got up and spoke about gun control, and he was speaking to Texas gun owners, raised that way. It was him.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was great. He was emotional,
Yeah.
but he didn't. Anyway,
But Jack,
it's a topic for conversation.
you could do that, especially if you strip.
Hey, Lee, we're trying to be serious here. And
Oh,
you're
I'm
playing with
sorry.
that humor of yours, which I
I'm
love.
sorry.
Well, I like how Courtney said redefine macho. It reminds me of that expression, real men protect animals. Or like the meme where it's like a man with a camera. This is the real way to shoot animals, or you know, it's like a camera instead of a gun. Like instead of hunting it, you're photographing, or be a photographer instead of a hunter, kind of thing. I can't remember exactly what it is, but this is the like, or real men shoot animals this way, or something like that. But anyway, yeah, I just I love what you had to say, Jack, and I love how you started with the personal story from so many years ago of how you went to adopt a cat, and then that segued into the current place that you're in with the goose advocacy and talking about your memory of the Canadian geese when you were a child. So it all just wove together. Wove together. Is that a word? It's not a word. Weaved. Oh my gosh, I'm having like is it weaved or wove?
They both are words. They're both good.
Anyway, it all just, you know, blended together nicely is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you for the wovening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jack, I'll say also that moment where you talked about the V of the Canada geese, like that really drew me in, and it was like a little piece from your past and having that reverence for the animals. And I think that's something that sometimes we forget, and that's a wonderful strategy even to address publicly with the geese regarding the geese for this protest tomorrow.
There's one more I didn't bring up because I was just going to cry if I brought it up. But as I said, the first one is another memory of geese flying overhead that was more powerful and just one of those transcendent moments in life from 50 years ago. Yeah. But, you know, one memory stirs another. Anyway, Thank you, Lisa. I hear you. And I look forward to the adventure on Thursday.
Okay. Thank you, Jack. Courtney, are you ready? Or willing?
Well, sort of.
Willingness is enough.
Okay.
Well,
What I've been
well,
so I'm supposed to look at I'm supposed to look at the camera, right? Okay.
No. Shall I introduce you now, or are you going to ask a question? Can I introduce you?
Oh, I didn't know that's what you're going to do. Go ahead.
Yes, 5 minutes with Courtney, starting with breaths, and calling your first name to the camera. You don't look in the camera. You look into their eyes on the screen when you call their name. Starting.
Oh, I'm supposed to call names. Okay. Well, let's see. Ginger. I've been thinking a lot lately about the connection between animals and humans, and having all the same emotions everyone mentions between anger and compassion, and really appreciating Lisa's natural bent, sort of, it seems, to compassion, and how much more effective that is. So anyway, in that light, I've been thinking more about human issues. And one of them was, I read a story about the Maasai in Africa who are being kicked off their land for a luxury safari hunting club or whatever. So I thought, you know what we're doing to animals, we're doing to people.
Are you calling names?
Oh, I did call Ginger, but maybe I forgot to look at her again.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Stay with the
Yeah,
eyes.
okay, so Ginger, I said that to you, okay.
Hmm.
So Brittany, so then I just started remembering things from my past and how I connected with humans to try to, I think just to try to remember that humans are part of the story, and I don't want to just hate them. Though sometimes I do. And Jack, I responded to what you said about that because, like I said, that's kind of this teeter-totter between emotional responses to animal abuse. And so I'm going to tell a human story. Just it helps me reconnect with the human story and why compassion is important. Julie. So one time, many years ago, I lived in San Francisco and I was a volunteer for this group called the Children's Home Society. And they took in children from the courts, and it just really made me realize some people just should not be parents. So, I mean, it kind of brought up anger too, but where the compassion came in is from meeting the children. So there was this, let's see, Lisa, this teenage girl. She lived in a group home. That's where girls would go, or boys, where they were not fostered out or they did not get adopted. So she lived in a group home. And when I saw her, I'm a photographer. Let's see who I haven't talked to yet. I guess I talked to everybody. So back to Julie. So Julie, I saw that she looked a lot like this young girl. She looked a lot like Billie Holiday. And I said, I'm going to take your picture. So I took her picture. I found an orchid and I put it in her hair. And I photographed her next to this slatted blind, which reminded me of a real picture of Billie Holiday. So I took the photo and I gave her the photo, and it brought her to life. She was so happy because she saw she was beautiful. So that was the best moment of my whole photography career. I'm not kidding. So being kind to humans is sometimes an important reminder that we're all in this together. Even though a lot of humans are hard to love, let's put it that way, because they abuse animals so badly. So, you know, it just, and then also thinking about how humans suffer in prisons. Our prison system just locks people up and puts them in solitary confinement. Just horrible things. Why do we treat people like that? So then you understand, well, that they treat animals the same. Of course, they don't think there's anything wrong with it, right? So anyway, those are just some of my thoughts that I've been having, and I'm going to leave it at that. Jack, Lee and Jack, I got mixed up. Lee. That's the end. That's
it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Courtney. So Courtney, in your story, I was struck by how you see beauty, that you have an eye for beauty in many forms.
Mm-hmm.
And you see animals as beautiful, and the challenge is seeing humans as beautiful. So that's an interesting dynamic that's fun to hear you talk about.
Sometimes the most beautiful humans are the ones that are in dire circumstances or in the most need, like Courtney found. And she was able to make that young girl feel beautiful, which is such a talent and such an appreciated characteristic.
Courtney, I'll share, I related deeply to that moment when you had this sense of helping this person, and that that welling up of kind of bliss from giving her that gift that she truly needed. Yeah.
I didn't know you were a photographer, Courtney, and at the same moment for me. It reminds me of I think it's of all people, Mother Teresa said, "We're not capable of doing great things, only small things with great heart." So for you to have a significant impact on one person, you don't know where those ripples go out into the world. It's a reminder for me. It doesn't have to be always striving for something big, but something really tender and intimate and caring with one individual, whether that person is human or animal, or human or non-human, excuse me.
I realized, Courtney, I attributed to you the quality of seeing beauty, but the other part was you see beauty and you call it out. That completes it.
Well, I was fortunate to live in San Francisco because there's a lot of beautiful people there. Just there were anyway. I don't know what it's like now. People from all over the world, just amazing diversity.
Any other comments for Courtney? Brittany?
I was just going to say that I feel like I learned things from your share. Like some of it was personal, or it was like relevant to you personally, but then I feel like there was a wider scope of where, like, in a way you were, whether it was intended or not, you were kind of educating us on a certain perspective that I share with you. And I found it interesting. I really like your approach, and we all have our own unique approaches to storytelling. But yeah, I just found it very interesting, the information and the details that you conveyed. So
Thanks, Brittany.
Any more? Okay, thank you, Courtney. Who's not last?
I can go next.
Brittany?
Or Ginger, did you want to go next? Or?
Go ahead, it's a fine.
All right, Brittany, 5 minutes starting with breaths, calling your first name to the camera starting now.
Well, Julie, lately I have been feeling extra overwhelmed about the state of the world. And, the political system, everything that is just very heavy in our society, like, not to mention everything that happens to animals on a daily basis all over the world, which that in itself is overwhelming and painful for us as vegan animal rights activists. But I was feeling very heavy, Ginger, about some of the human issues and activities. Of course, it's all related, human and animal, we're all connected. But the shootings in Texas, that school shooting, was really, really difficult for me. I was a teacher. I'm a former teacher. And so before I came to this job at IDA, and I taught for quite some time in different capacities. And every time a school shooting happens, Jack, I'm very affected. I mean, we all are to some degree, but I guess maybe because I was a teacher and I think about my young, my students, my previous students, and I think about how, it's not even safe to be a teacher. Children can't go to school like we used to and be educated without the fear of being murdered. And this country is, what word do I want to use for this country, Courtney? This country is shameful. And when it comes to the gun laws or lack of, and just the politics and everything, and in a number of ways, I'm over this country. And if I could move I love where I live. I love where I live. I love the home I have here. And I love Tucson. But if I could, Ginger, move my little sanctuary out of the United States, I would consider doing that. I just had it with, everything that we endured from the Trump administration, and not to bring politics into it, but it's just, yes, the school shooting really hit me hard, and yet another one. And it's not just school shootings. I mean, we can't, people can't go anywhere in this country. These shootings are happening in grocery stores and churches and grocery stores, churches, all number of public places. And it's just really affecting. I'm an empath. And so, Jack, these things, they're difficult, to say the least. But Lisa, one bit of good news within the mix of the heaviness that has been happening lately is that this past week, we got the news that Farmer John's Slaughterhouse in the Los Angeles area in Vernon, California, is closing. And this, Courtney, is a facility that I have attended a number of vigils. It is the largest pig slaughter facility on the West Coast. And they kill, I believe it's like 8,000 to 10,000 pigs a day. It used to be like 5,000 to 7,000 a day, and then it's escalated. And so I've been to many vigils there, Ginger, to bear witness to the pigs with Los Angeles Animal Save when I was living in the LA area. And I also participated in a lockdown action there, which I won't take the time to go into detail on that, but basically found out that it's closing. Now, at first it's like, yay, Lee, like they must be, closing because they're going out of business or something. Well, that's not the case. Farmer John is owned by Smithfield, which is one of the largest, I believe it is the largest pork producing corporation. And they're not going out of business. The cost of doing business in California is not worth their efforts. Basically, the operating costs are too high in California for them to make as much profit as they want to, those greedy bastards. And so they are going to phase out of California. They'll still be operating elsewhere. But, it's a big deal for us because Farmer John, I mean, this place is like an iconic, I know it generally has a positive connotation, but when I say iconic, it's just like this landmark facility that activists have been doing vigils at and protesting for years. And it's actually going to be closing its doors in 2023. And so feels like a win, even though I know they're just going to be operating elsewhere. And so that, Ginger, is my share for today. Just some interesting and, good news in the mix of a lot of heavy stuff that I've been feeling lately in this very painful, depressing world. So.
Thank you, Brittany. So Brittany, it was striking me that starting by talking about the despair and the sad and this misery of the world is a good place to start with many audiences, because that's within that, they're feeling it. And it's good to name it and start with the helplessness of it, your own pain about it, and then notice how some possibilities creep in and they become inspiring.
Thank you.
Going forward. Yeah. Comments for Brittany?
Yeah, just say that I really enjoy your communication style. It's very real and authentic, and you can tell, what you're talking about. And those are pretty much like the heaviest topics you can talk about. So if you can do it in a way that's not like pandering or come across as fake or whatever, it's a talent. So good job.
Well, thank you, Julie. Thank you.
I appreciated the fact that while it was good news for your community, that you still brought in the fact that this was just going to be transferred elsewhere. It's not going away. It's just going away from your community and from California. And for economic reasons, which is our big boogeyman, right? Follow the money everywhere. That's why all the wars in the world are happening.
Mhm. Yeah, I wish I could say that they were closing because pork production has gone way down or it's like phasing out or something, but unfortunately, like meat consumption apparently is like not diminishing, which is so frustrating for us.
Brittany, I just want to say that I share your feeling about leaving the country, even though not just for the gun issue, for a number of reasons.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I've been looking at Mexico. I mean, it just seems it's got to be. I know it is better other places. It is hard to move though, especially you've got a sanctuary and you've got a lot to pick up and take with you, right? So that's.
Oh yeah, I'll be staying here, but it's just like in my mind, it's like if I could just transfer everything out of the United States.
Yeah. But yeah, I really appreciate your story and having that one little piece of good news. And I hope for you that you can, there's a few more that come up soon.
Thank you.
Kind of helps you get through it.
Thank you.
Jack,
Yeah.
Is what I said. It should be muted. So, well, let me start here. I followed every word, and you're engaging and a excellent communicator. So thank you for that. And I have one other thought. I'm going to make a shit sandwich, if we say, and then everything in between.
Yeah.
So Smithfield is going to move their operation somewhere where good people like you with a conscience who will call the media won't be able to get at them. Not that that's their intention, but like, oh, is that a good thing? And I know you want to feel like a win and you want to, hey, they're not here in my face. But I mean, I'm surprised all these guys haven't moved all their operations to Mexico. Mexican government won't shut them down and we can't get at them then. And they have, it's like Saudi Arabia, for oil, like, So, but again, for me, in this context, it's good to know other people feel, the country's a mess and it's appropriate to share that despair, even before going on to solutions and having it be up and happy like we do here in Marin with what's called spiritual bypassing. Oh, it's all good. These are the lessons to bring humanity together. Yeah. I know that. Go, yeah. But it's also the pain of it, which. So anyway, you're an excellent communicator. You stirred the pot. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Yeah, Brittany, I'll also say I appreciate your very wholesome style. I mean, it seems very youthful to me, almost like that movement of students who want us to change the world for them. And I just had that feeling of that. Yeah, we're obligated to kind of serve the children and the new generation of people who want to live in a safe place for people and also a safe place for animals. So just, I saw in your talk, all of the young activists also, like Zoe Roster and all the people out there, like, all the frustration and sorrow that they're holding for our world. And so have also that compassion for you, being part of that. And part two of your success with the Farmer John's, that was the first time I've heard of that. I didn't even know that. So thank you for telling me. And for everyone, this is monumental. I mean, years ago, activists have been arrested at demos there for, decades. And for anyone who hasn't been there personally, they have a large mural of a happy pigs on the outside. It's like hundreds of feet long, and it's like painted blue with a green, it's like green and blue, very nature looking with all these happy pigs. It is iconic for that reason as well, because
Exactly. It's the mural that people like know about. It's so diluted, that
such a
mural.
hypocrisy, and it just,
Yeah.
yeah. So thank you, Brittany, for sharing that, and also the two sides of that victory.
Thank you, Lisa. Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, Brittany. Ginger, 5 minutes, starting with breaths, calling your first name to the camera. Starting now.
Lisa, when I first joined IDA 4.5 years ago, Anita, I was told to send in a picture for the website page, a picture of myself with a horse. And I sent in a picture of me sitting on one of my horses bareback with just a halter on, very benign picture. And Anita says, oh, we can't use that one. People, our supporters don't agree with riding horses, many of them. And so I said, oh, all right. And it brought me to a place where I've been a horse person my whole life. I've been an animal person my whole life, but specifically horses and dogs, the ones that I knew the best. And I became a riding instructor at age 16, and I was teaching natural horsemanship. And I've been teaching riding on and off ever since. And I think about, why do I teach horseback riding, Brittany? It's because I know people are going to ride, and I want people to do it right. There's a way to do it right. Well, there's many ways to do it right, but many ways to do it wrong. So Julie, I really wanted to teach kids and adults, kids and their parents, that when you are riding a horse, it's a partnership, and you need to understand your horse's point of view. You need to understand and have empathy for your horse. And Lee, I wanted people to understand that this is not necessary. It should not be an abusive boss and slave relationship. It's a partnership. And Lee, I wanted people to know that if you can understand why your horse is doing what he's doing, then you can have an empathy towards why that horse is doing it and know how to react to it and respond to it appropriately. So Courtney, when I've taught riding for so long that I've just kind of improved it over the years to the point where I don't even call it horseback riding lessons anymore. I call it horsemanship, even though that's not a non-generic term for it. I don't have another one, but I say it's horsemanship. It's learning to understand your horse and understand their behavior. And I tell my students, Julie, that why is your horse not wanting to do something? Is it because they're scared? Is it because they're stubborn? Is it because they're testing you? Is it because they don't feel well? Is it because their foot hurts? Lee, that got the kids thinking. And I found out that when I start asking them questions to think about it, it's not just me telling them, oh, keep your heels down and your back straight and your shoulders back and eyes forward and your hands down. It's not just about that. It's about understanding the partnership. And Lisa, when you have a partnership with the horse, and even if it's just an hour partnership in a lesson, if you have that partnership and that understanding, you have empathy towards the horse, because Julie, all these kids come in saying, I love horses, but they hadn't really thought about the horse's point of view. And I just started teaching after I sold my place and we was no longer doing horse camps and riding lessons, Jack. And I started working for IDA and spending so much time with IDA. I got a call asking if I wanted to teach horseback riding again to one of my former students, place where he went, and his mother had become the barn manager. And so I said yes, because when I got there, I found all those kids and people were being taught kick to go, yank to stop, and I put a stop to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Well, Ginger, I mean, I'm not that familiar with the animal rights movement. That is the first I sensed, oh, there could be a disagreement about if riding horses is okay. You know, this is I don't know if this is a big conflict, but boy, you spoke beautifully for the point of view that you were doing something for the animals rather than helping exploit them. Beautiful way of looking at that, teaching horsepersonship.
Yeah.
Jack.
Wow, Ginger. I preface this by saying everyone has a unique voice and is a unique person and speaks. So it's not a comparison thing, but just the way you speak for me is really clear, effective, powerful, emotional, without being, very emotional. You're just very plain spoken, matter of fact, and you obviously speak from great experience. So wow, just get out there and keep talking to people. And the last thing I would say is, why not, you're looking for a term, why not horse partnership?
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's awesome.
All right, I'm using that.
Yeah, I'll share next because I first want to second that motion, because that's a great term to use. I think that's so inclusive. I also love, Ginger, that moment in your story where you shared that the children, loved horses, but didn't see things from the horse's point of view. That statement alone explains so much. It says how it kind of encapsulates animal rights activists and activism in one sentence there, because that's what many of us face all the time, that people love animals, but they eat them. They love animals, but mistreat them in certain ways, or neglect them in other ways. So I think that it really leads a lot of credence to your teaching, because it's so important to help people empathize with animals rather than see them objectively. So thank you for your great work and your storytelling.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. I'll say that, you're a great speaker, and I think you already know that, but super knowledgeable. And I agree. I think you could start a whole new campaign. One of the sayings or approaches in activism that I try to live by is just meeting people where they are. So I think this is the really awesome example of that. So nice.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'll speak next. So Ginger, that was very educational and a very interesting perspective about learning about horses, and not only from their perspective, but you're looking at it from all the people that ride them from their perspective, because you're right, it's going to continue. So you have a way of mingling or transitioning so that people will at least do it with kindness. And I think that's a perfect place to meet people and make change. And I just want to say that I really appreciate your love of horses. I love them too. They're so beautiful.
Yeah, oh, go. Okay, sorry. Like others said, Ginger, you are a great speaker and you have a very compelling and clear way of expression, and I appreciate hearing your perspective. I have been an animal rights person who does not support horseback riding, and I personally have been against it. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, you know, in the scheme of things. It's a lot worse happening to animals. But, and I don't, you know, when it's done in a way like you're speaking about, Ginger, as more of a compassion and care for the horses, then that's totally different. Like, that's not abuse. I don't see it as abusive to when the kind of approach that you're talking about and that you are trying to educate people about, kids and their parents. It's like when we see pony rides and that type of thing, where ponies or horses are just like going around in circles, you know, they're like saddled up and that is abuse. They are being exploited. They are being used to bring in money for pony rides, just for kids to have an entertaining time. So that's a whole different issue. So yeah, I just appreciate being educated about a compassionate horse riding experience, you know, because just in general, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm not supportive of horseback riding, but like I learned from what you were saying. And like most things, it's not so black and white, right? Like there's so much in between. There's so much gray area. So thank you.
I appreciate that, Brittany, and I do agree. I'm totally against the exploitive ways that people use it, but also I want people to understand, and this was part of my teaching as well, is that when you have a good bond or a good relationship with the horse that you're riding, the horse enjoys it too. They love it too. They enjoy human companionships. You become their herd, you become their bandmate. And so I just want people to understand that if it's done right, the horse is having fun too.
Well, thank you, Ginger, for your perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack.
Yeah, well, I'm comment and then a question. Comment is I just learned a ton, and even just that little exchange there, it's another larger conversation. What would other people who are against horseback riding as a rule would say to what you're just talking about? But I hope more people treat their horses with compassion, and might I say, treat them more gingerly. And the other is, I was very affected by a documentary I saw 3-4 years ago at the Rafael Film Center here, which you know about. I'd be curious what you think of the documentary Buck. The horse whisperer who produced by Robert Redford. Yeah.
There's several horse whisperers. Buck, I think the horse whisperer was kind of based more on Monty Roberts than Buck Brannaman. Is at least that's what I've heard. And I have not even seen the movie Buck. I've heard about it, and so I can't really comment on his training methods or his ways, but there is the join up that Monty Roberts talks about, and I think Buck does, Brannaman talks about as well. It's creating that partnership with the horse, and often you just sit and let the horse come to you and sniff you out, and then you create a bond. And horses are very incredible empaths, Brittany. They have so much intuition, and that's why they're used for therapy horses for people who have disabilities, for PTSD vets, and all sorts of things. I have personally witnessed the empathy that horses communicate like a Spock mind melt to people. It's incredible.
Yeah, that's an interesting point too about therapy horses. That's a whole nother area that is like very interesting to learn more about, and that demonstrates like the bond that horses and humans can have and how it can be something mutually beneficial that I just don't know enough about. And yeah, I appreciate that.
The thing, one of the big takeaways, sorry, Lee, I learned from, I'll make it quick. I learned from the movie Buck was that people call him all the time with a horse problem. You know where this is going.
It's a people problem.
And it's a people problem. And yeah, he's a therapist for the people and
Yeah.
how to relate to the horse and everything.
Right.
Hey,
Right.
Ginger, I just want to mention that I met Monty Roberts and I saw him do join up, and he does no words, all body language. And he was working with like a very disturbed horse who was basically a dangerous horse, right? Because he'd been so abused. And within 20 minutes, he just using his hands and his body, he was able to get that horse to calm down and get him on the road to recovery. So they
Exactly.
wouldn't, kill the horse. So
Yeah,
he was
that's-
pretty amazing.
That's exactly what we're talking about and trying to get people, because horses can understand so much more than people give them credit for. And it doesn't necessarily take any words, like you said. It's they can read you. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry
Wonderful.
to take up so much time on this.
That's all right. No, every topic is perfect for this. And I want to kind of bring up, as we move toward an end, a topic that's coming to me. I was inspired by Jack. I'm building community. We're building, strengthening this community and the larger animal rights community. And what occurred to me, this is a support group for people who have a certain psychic connection, an undeniable psychic connection, a vivid psychic direct connection with animals.
Yes.
If you look around, and I'm not in that, I don't have that. But I'm looking at people and it is so electric, that psychic connection. And I get how, if I had that, how the misery of the sorrow, the grief, the sadness, because the people are, these animals are your friends, and they're being treated worse than we were as children, than any of us could have been treated as children. So I think if you look around at each other and see that that's what the commonality is, it's almost like you didn't ask for it, you were called. You're this psychic absolute oneness connection with animals, and that. And if there's a conversation or expression about what that means, what that means to you, and being in a group of people with that, what do you want to call it? Neuro wiring? I don't even know what to call it.
I got a fancy word for it.
Go ahead.
Love, you putz. Neuro-linguistic, animalistic, blah, 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 blah. Love. I look at an animal and I feel love. My heart opens and I want to cry.
I knew
That's
you'd
me.
come up with the complex language that would explain what I was trying to talk about. So if there's anything to share around this commonality, that it's almost, let's just take some silence and see what, without calling turns, see if there's anything that wants to come up around this idea or this sense of commonality. Or what you want to tell the world, the rest of the world.
Can I tell you something, Lee?
Yeah,
You have it too. We all have it.
we have, yeah.
Passion.
But I mean, it's in your every minute, every day field. I admire it, and
Well,
I don't-
it's something I think it kind of, I don't know if this is exactly what you had in mind, but this idea is so much about just a quote that many of us know, and it's about extending our circle of compassion just beyond the human into all living beings. And it's actually very simple. It's really what the golden rule was intended for. So the idea is, it's really like when you make yourself big enough to hold all of the energy in the room, like even as a facilitator, like I'm holding all this energy here to support this group. That's what it's like. It's like just expanding yourself just in your heart, really big enough so that you can embrace and hold the space for all the living beings there in your environment. So there are people, there might be butterflies, there might be um, ants or dogs, or maybe there's birds. So it's almost a feeling of expanding that loving loving kindness.
Thank you, Lisa.
I love that visual because it's so right. It's like really on point, expanding. And again, I'm coming back to it, Lee. Everybody has it. Like we're all born with the same,
Yeah.
Most of us are born with this compassion, which, life happens and whatever, but we can all get back to it. And I see you as a pre-vegan. I do.
As a what?
A pre-vegan.
A pre-vegan?
Vegan ice cream is great. Try it.
I do.
Okay, good. Awesome.
I was with Jack's help, with Jack's influence, I was a vegan for a few years, and now I'm mostly vegan.
Awesome. See?
Wait, with this Jack's influence?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys
Way to
knew
go,
each other?
Jack.
Wait, you guys knew each
I've
other?
known Lee for, I don't know, 15 or 16 years. I came to him because I had
Really?
trouble with, I was afraid of public speaking for my Tree Spirit project.
Oh, I'm sorry. I might have missed that. So is that how Lee came to us, to IDA? Oh, okay. Sorry if I guess.
That's the most direct connection, but it turns out Lee met a woman named Marilyn Kroplik 20 years ago, 25 years ago, Lee, 30 years ago.
Oh, I didn't know this. I don't know. I guess I missed that, but that is, wow, small world.
So to take us back from head to heart, two things. Lee, why did you send me recently a video of two young fawns bounding outside your place in San Rafael, just 5 miles away from me? Why did you send that to me? You who just made the interesting statement that you don't have a connection to animals the way you think we do.
Well, my connection was to the animals, but mostly to you, Jack. I knew that it would delight you to see these fawns. They were running like kittens in a patch right outside my bedroom. We have families of deer, and they're just going like for minutes. I got much of it on video, and then their mom was there. At the end, you see the mother. In my last video, the mother is like she had supervised a play date for the kids. And she's walking off feeling very proud of them. But so the way I saw it through Jack's eyes. Like I loved it, but it's got I knew it would make Jack cry.
Well, it's worse than that, Lee. So to keep going to the hard thing. So we have, I'm in a 3-bedroom house with a housemate, tiny little ants, little guys. I mean, they're, I don't know what species they are. Ants were in the kitchen and we want to get rid of the ants. So we tried blah, 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 blah. I found myself like at certain points, like, guys, I don't want to kill you, but I can't deal with hundreds of you all over the place. Long story short, I now to the place where I go to the counter, I sweep a bunch of them into my hand. So my hand is crawling with, I don't know, 5 or 10 little ants. They don't bite, they're black. Open the kitchen door or the front door of the house out of the kitchen. And I just blow them off my hand out into the yard. And this is how crazy it's gotten. Because as you guys know, as you pay more attention to, these little guys are alive, just like me. And they're, in my opinion, sentient, or at least far more sentient than our typical society gives them credit for being. Why would I kill them? I don't want to kill them. I don't want them in my house. It's so bad now. I'm guilty that I know they communicate with each other and leave little scent trails to bring, hey, there's food over here, come this way. oh no, I've just destroyed their community with these guys. I've removed them to another place. I don't know if they're going to survive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's nuts compared to the average person in society who just, what do you mean? Just smashed. I've got a dear friend, Larry Rosen, who went to nonviolent communication and he came back a changed man. He quit his lawyering and became a mediator because nonviolent communication. And he just smashes insects. He kills them. Mosquito, bees, all of it. Like, oh God.
Oh, now, wait a minute. You're not for killing mosquitoes too? Really?
Well, I don't want to. I'm not saying, it's sort of like Lee said, he's not quite a vegan. He's damn near a vegan, but is there a time when like, ow, and I like, oh, I just killed you, but I'll flick it off. And I'm not it's a longer conversation. My point is being, as what Lisa said, opening up your field of compassion to see that all these creatures are alive and want to live as we do. And more
Jack-
important, last point, and then I'll stop my little tirade here. When I do that, I love the way it makes me feel. It's not just for them. It's for how it makes me feel when I'm feeling compassionate for the animals. As I joke, as if somehow we're all connected because we are.
Well, Jack, I want you to know that I do the same thing, but I can't get them to climb up on my hands. So I just use a piece of paper and scoot them all on, take them out the door. And I had a problem with ants in the kitchen. And so I was doing that every day and it was taking forever. And finally I said, oh, I see there's a hole in the grout here. So I repaired the grout line, got the remaining ants out. Now I don't have them anymore. And I also flick off mosquitoes. I don't smash them.
So I will say, just to mention, there is that feeling of a tribe, and for many of us. So the first time I went to an animal rights conference many years ago and just looked around and realized, wow, suddenly I'm not the only person talking about the ants. Just like here, all of us probably do something similar with the ants and other creatures. But to be in a place where others and a large volume of people are thinking the same way you do, there is a certain consciousness there that we have, and I think it's something to be celebrated, and it's definitely a major bond. And I think this is truthfully like a major paradigm shift for the planet, and we're all like contributing to it. So it's a wonderful connection that we have with one another, and I thank all of you for it.
Thank you, Lisa. I think we can do some closing turns to complete the experience today. Like a minute and a half each, looking anywhere you want, not having to call names. You could look into the camera if you'd like, or look around the room like a regular Zoom call, just to complete the experience today. What are you going with, or anything else that comes up to share? And this means about 15 seconds more or less to finish up. So should we start? I'm going to just start at the top of this, at the bottom of the screen, and work my way up. I don't know if you have the same configuration, but it's random. Think of it as random. Courtney, completing your experience, starting with the breath, starting now.
Gosh, I don't know what to say. Well, Lee, I just want to show appreciation to you, because I think that the goal is to be more present and more convincing. That's the goal. I see it more convincing to the general public. So what we learn here, we can use. At least that's how I see it. And it's very hard speaking for me. It's really a challenge. And so any way that I can, get some steps or some experience guidance is good. So I just want to tell you I appreciate that. And I really appreciate hearing everybody's stories today. You all speak very eloquently and clearly. So how do you do that? Anyway, that's it. That's all I have to say.
They do it the same way you do, Courtney.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Courtney. Yeah. Completing with Julie, starting with a breath. You're,
Yeah. I will just close out, I guess, just saying I am super, super grateful to have a place to open up. I guess I don't know if I would feel comfortable practicing like something or sharing something like I did today anywhere else. So Lee and everybody, I am really grateful. So it's still not my favorite thing, public speaking, but I feel like if I had to do it again and share that same story, I think I could. So that's 1,000,000% better than what I started with today. So I think that alone is amazing, and I'm super thankful for it.
thank you, Julie. Completing with Lisa, starting with a breath, starting now.
Well, I'll continue this round of gratitude. So grateful to everyone here and to Lee for your incredible guidance. I'm struck by the stories and the storytelling styles, how each one is so different, and yet they're all really powerful and effective in their own ways. And I think that's one of the beauties of this experience for me, is seeing all the different ways to tell these stories that can all reach the heart. So I want to thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Completing with Ginger, starting with a breath.
I think that you are all gifted speakers. I think everyone does a wonderful job in their talks, in their speaking style. Everybody does have their own style and their own way of bringing forth what they're trying to convey. I think that we are all this way because of our passion, because we have a passion and we can connect our heart to our brain. That's what makes us speakers that can be effective. And so I appreciate the fact that some of you felt fear, or like you were too shy or whatever to be a speaker. I think you all are just wonderful. You just do a terrific job. So thank you.
Thank you, Ginger. Completing with Brittany, starting with a breath. Starting now.
What I am focusing on right now is growth. I feel that this is really an experience that is able to provide an opportunity, a great opportunity for growth for all of us in different ways. So like Courtney and Julie spoke to nervousness around public speaking, which I think we've all felt in some capacity at some point or other. But the stepping outside of our comfort zones for some of us, and stepping up and just giving it a go and experiencing something that maybe doesn't come naturally, or that has been something that's been that people may be apprehensive about. And so growth is a really great opportunity from this experience. And I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm growing and learning about everyone else, but about myself as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. completing with Jack. Starting with a breath, starting now.
I have three appreciations. First one made me laugh because as I was watching one of you speak just recently, I was scribbling down sincere, three words of appreciation to use Lee's lingo: sincere, genuine, and eloquent. And that was for the woman, Courtney, who was saying she wasn't eloquent. It just cracked me up. Like, you don't see it. We don't see it in ourselves for the most part. And that's why when I first started with Lee 150 years ago, or only 15, the thing was, watch the videotape of yourself speaking 3 times, not once, not twice, but 3 times. Get used to it and take in the appreciations that you get from other people. So there, one. Number 2, for Lee, of course, for hosting these and making Zooms tolerable for me and intimate and at times lovely. Whereas for the most part, it's very distracting and people are moving around and everybody's this and doing this. And it's like, just not what I want, not how I communicate best. It's not a replacement for live communication. And then third appreciation is for this group again, as everyone is saying here. Just yeah, it's the second best thing to being in a live room full of fellow animal rights and activists and vegans, and where you don't feel like you're the odd person out or that you're insane, when in fact we live, all of us, in an insane, in many ways, technically suicidally insane society. We talks about mass shootings and politics and all that bad stuff. And we don't talk about the meteor hurtling toward Earth called the climate crisis every day, all day, so that we don't all die and suffer terribly, along with all the animals we care about. You know, that can join us all together, vegans and non-vegans. So to have a forum where I don't feel the outcast, as I often do, very appreciative. So thanks everyone for being here today.
Thank you, Jack. Completing with Lee, starting now. Yeah, do watch. Every one of you did some wonderful stuff in your turns, and you should watch it. If you can watch it watch your piece 3 times, you might enjoy the whole show. It's kind of a beautiful, it's a Netflix special, this hour and a half. Might be able to see it that way. And I want to say, going forward, you're going to get opportunities to talk in public. They're going to start to come up. They're going to, they're not coming up now. They show up. That's, I think, why you're here, because there are chances to talk out there. You never know when it's going to come up or when you throw your hat in the ring. The one thing I'm available pro bono to help you with going into any talk or presentation is the opening story. A minute, 2 minutes that opens into the bigger picture of what you're here for. Finding the right opening story and the segue to the group will give you the confidence that no amount of practice will give you. So for instance, I walked into this group today with the story to tell about my experience with wild dogs in Mexico. And I knew I was going to segue from that scene of peace and kindness into the kindness of this group. So I knew my opening story. I loved telling it, and I loved bringing it into how this is also a nervous system spa. So every time you do a talk or a presentation, you can do something like that. And I stand ready from now and forever. Even if I'm living in Mexico, I have Zoom in Mexico or email, is to just come up with that beginning of anything, and that is 90% of relaxing into an opportunity to make a difference to an audience. So thank you for giving me that inspiration to serve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
I like to end with a group hug if you're willing.
Don't leave. America needs you.
I'll work from the outside. Kiss is optional. I'll send this video to you all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Hi, everyone.